Today on Sugar Spun Around, we'll be making sourdough English muffins. Hey everyone, today I am sharing my very easy recipe for how to make sourdough English muffins at home. We are going to be starting today's recipe using active starter. I have my friend Scotty here today. You'll need 2/3 cup of active starter, and if you've been following me, you know I typically use a scale when I'm making any of my recipes. So this comes out to 150 grams. This is just a little bit less messy than pouring the sourdough into a measuring cup and then pouring it into the bowl. One of the reasons I love using a kitchen scale. And yes, Scotty is what I named my sourdough starter, in case you were looking for, I don't know, somebody else. So I have my starter measured out. Next, we'll add our water. You will need 2/3 cup of warm water for today's recipe. If you are temping your water, you're going to want that to be between 90 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We're also going to be adding 1 large egg. This should be room temperature. Go ahead and crack it into my measuring cup. I'll add this in. And we'll also add 2 tablespoons of honey. I love adding honey. It adds a great addition to the flavor. It adds a little touch of sweetness. These are not sweet English muffins, but the honey is really great for the flavor. Get all that in there. Don't want to miss out on any of that honey. Now I like to use a whisk for this step, just to whisk everything together. I want it to be nicely combined. This is where I could really use one of those like Danish bread whisks. Mixers that I've been seeing. Don't have one of those yet, so we'll just use a regular old-fashioned whisk. So I want to get that egg nicely broken up, and then I'm going to add my butter. I have 3 tablespoons of melted butter here, and I am just going to drizzle this in while I'm whisking. And then just like I don't like to waste honey, I don't like to waste butter. Woo! So I'm going to scrape everything stuck in the bowl into this mixing bowl here. And you're probably going to notice that the butter is going to separate out some. That's to be expected. We try to minimize this a little bit by making sure our ingredients aren't cold and by whisking while we're combining everything, but you're still going to see some separation. That's normal. Don't panic. Now we are done with our whisk. The next thing you're going to need is 2 cups of bread flour. I'm just going to add this right into the bowl. And I'm also going to add 3/4 teaspoon of salt. This is just table salt that I'm using today. And now we're just going to work everything together until we have a fairly uniform dough. It's going to be a little bit more like a batter than a dough. It's going to be very sticky. It is going to almost be like a very thick pancake batter. All right, once you have everything nicely combined, that's all you need to do to make your dough or your batter, whatever you'd like to call it. Of course, there's still some more steps to baking it, but I love how quickly and simply this comes together. Now we are going to cover this with some plastic wrap, and we're going to let it sit at room temperature for 30 minutes. Then we will take it over to the refrigerator, and we're going to let it sit overnight before we use it. And of course, I do have some batter that I already prepared. And when you are ready to cook with your sourdough English muffin batter, you're going to want to let it sit at room temperature for an hour before you start cooking with it. It should be approaching room temperature or at room temperature. That would be ideal before you begin cooking with it. Now there are 2 parts to cooking our English muffins. We are going to start on the stovetop, and then we are going to head over to the oven. So you want to have your oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit at this point. Now over on the stovetop, you are going to want a medium-sized skillet. And if you have them, English muffin rings are great for this recipe. They're just going to make your muffins a little more uniform in size. If you don't have them, you're just going to have funnier shaped English muffins. No big deal, they're still going to taste great. Now to get started here, I'm going to take about 1/2 tablespoon of butter. I'm just going to drop this in my skillet, turn this to medium-low heat, just a notch below medium. I also have a parchment paper lined baking sheet that I've prepared and ready to go, because that's where I'll be placing the English muffins once we're done with the stovetop step. Now I'm just going to encourage this butter to spread around a little bit. I'm using English muffin rings, so I'm going to place these right in here. For our batter, I use about 1/3 cup of batter per English muffin, and this scoop holds just a little bit less than 1/3 cup. Now your batter is going to be a little bit stiff, but I can tell mine's still a little bit colder than it really should be. So I should have probably let mine sit more than an hour. So I'm just going to help form it into that nice English muffin shape by using a spoon to spread it evenly in the ring that I have here. And in case I didn't already say it, you don't want to add the batter until your pan is hot. If you hover your hand over it a couple inches over, you should feel the heat radiating off of the pan. Now we're just going to cook these English muffins pretty briefly. I cook them for about 60 seconds per side. So once they've cooked for about 60 seconds, I will remove the rings. Let's take a peek underneath. I want to make sure they're a little bit brown on the bottom before I flip them. I'm going to give that just another second. And if you have any batter that's stuck to your ring, just wipe it off. But be careful because the rings are going to be hot. The batter shouldn't really stick to the rings. I find this only happens if I try to remove them a little bit too soon, which I know I did because my English muffins aren't quite as brown as I want them to be on the bottom. All right, let's take another peek. Now, while these are cooking, I just want to mention something for your baking sheet. I'm cooking mine on parchment paper, which does a good job from keeping them from sticking. But traditionally, English muffins are cooked on a little bit of cornmeal as well. If you'd like, you can sprinkle like a tablespoon of cornmeal over your baking sheet, and that just adds a little bit of extra texture to the English muffins as well. We just don't really use the cornmeal in my house too often. All right, let's check these out. They're looking pretty good, so now I'm going to remove them to my baking sheet. Let's see if I can get this on camera here. I want you to see the other side. They're not baked through yet, that's fine. But I want to work quickly here so my pan doesn't get too hot, and I'm going to add another half tablespoon of butter. It's going to sizzle a little bit, so watch out. This is why I keep the heat below medium. If you go up too high, the butter is going to cook too fast. It's going to go beyond browning. It's going to end up burning. So the heat a little bit turned down. But since my pan's already hot, I can go right ahead and add my batter. Now, if you've made my classic non-sourdough English muffins, you know there's a reason that we cook this two ways. By starting on the stovetop, we let the muffins begin to cook and they start to bubble up, which creates those beautiful nooks and crannies in the batter. However, you don't want to cook them completely on the skillet. It can actually be really difficult to do without making the outside super tough. So once we've browned them and created those bubbles inside of them, we're going to take them over to the oven where they will finish baking nicely and they'll be perfectly soft and have those nooks and crannies. If you're struggling with your rings, you can also grease yours if you'd like. These are non-stick, so I don't typically grease them. I will make sure to link to the ones that I use in my printable recipe, but you don't have to get a certain brand. Whatever you find will probably work just fine. Now, if you don't have English muffin rings, you would just dollop the batter and then use your spoon to gently form it into a disc shape a little bit and cook it that way. I find you don't get quite as many nooks and crannies that way, but you'll still get delicious English muffins. And here's something to watch out for while you're cooking your English muffins. Your pan is just going to keep getting hotter and hotter, so as you make more and more English muffins, they're going to take less and less time to brown. Went a little bit too long on these. Especially if you're using cast iron like I am, it gets so hot. So once you've cooked your English muffins on the stovetop, we're going to take them over to our 350-degree Fahrenheit preheated oven. We're going to bake them in the center rack, and it's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes for them to bake through. To tell that they're done, I really recommend using an instant read thermometer and checking for an internal temperature of 205 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think you can see this super well, but we are at 205 degrees, so these are finished baking. And I know 10 to 15 minutes is a bit of a range, but since these are cooked on the stovetop first, the amount of time it takes will vary just because it's hard for me to say exactly how much you've cooked yours on the stovetop. Check them at 10 and then just add more time as needed. So now these just need to cool and then we'll split them open and hopefully we'll see some nooks and crannies today. Anytime you split an English muffin, it's best to use a fork rather than a knife. I'll show you how it's done. These are still pretty hot. And as you can see, I used the rings and my English muffins are still not perfect circles. But no big deal. We got them pretty close. Okay, let's take a look. Oh yeah, look at those little bubbles in there, those nooks and crannies. You toast this, add some butter. Oh my gosh, they are amazing. And I cannot wait for you to try this recipe. If you do, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. I'd also like to know if you would like to see more sourdough and sourdough discard recipes. That helps me plan my content and make sure I share things that you like watching. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Okay, this is not toasted or buttered, but we're still gonna try it. It's warm. You are never going to buy these from the store again. Oh my gosh.